now it's time for Fantasy Fortunes.
Fantasy Fortunes.
This is our fantasy football segment where we give our picks each and every week for fantasy football. And this is week 6. And as always, let's get started with the quarterbacks. And at quarterback, I like Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. They'll be hosting the Chicago Bears. And Matt Ryan is leading a high-powered passing attack of the Falcons. They've been putting up some pretty big numbers. Of course, they kind of go back and forth depending on the level of competition that they're facing. But this week they're at home and they're against the Bears, so they should be able to put up some pretty decent numbers in that game. So I like Matt Ryan to get into the end zone. Of course, he's got to watch out because the Bears sometimes do get some pickoffs. But I also like Blake Bortles of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to Tennessee to face the Titans. The Titans don't really have that good of a passing defense. They also let up a lot of points. So I think Blake Bortles should have a pretty big game. I think he might even be able to get Jacksonville their first win, although I did pick Tennessee in the quick picks. But now running back, I like Matt Forte of the Chicago Bears going to face Atlanta. So I actually got a lot of players in that game with the Bears at the Falcons. The Falcons, they struggle against the run, and Matt Forte is a threat on the ground and catching the ball out of the backfield. He's actually been one of the more productive members of the Chicago Bears, even though he doesn't have a lot of rushing yards. Said he does catch a lot of passes. He somehow, some way gets into the end zone. So I expect Matt Forte to have a big day against the Atlanta defense that struggles to stop teams from getting in the end zone. Also like Frank Gore going against the Rams there on Monday night. One thing I like to have somebody on Monday night playing. Also the Rams, they let up a lot of points. So I expect Frank Gore to have a big day. The Rams also struggle to stop the run. So Frank Gore should really rack up some yards in that one, even though he's a little bit banged up. Of course, Carlos Hyde is also a good option as well. So at receiver, I got Alshon Jeffery of the Chicago Bears going against the Falcons. I mean, you could have gone either way in this game. You could have picked Julio Jones, but I think that Jeffery's going to have a bigger day. Brandon Marshall's been kind of banged up, and Jeffery's been getting in the end zone lately, so I think he should put up some pretty good numbers. Also, like Kendall Wright of the Tennessee Titans. They're hosting the Jags. I got Blake Bortles in that game also on the other side, but I also think Kendall Wright's going to get some good numbers. It's probably going to be Charlie Whitehead as the quarterback. His locker's banged up. But either way, I think Kendall Wright will have a big day no matter who's behind center for the Titans, as the Jaguars have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. Alright, so now let's look at tight ends. At tight end, I like Larry Donnell of the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had that huge game on Thursday night against the Redskins, and then last week he didn't do nothing. But I think this week he's going to bounce back and have a big day against the Eagles. Even though I think the Eagles are going to win this game, but I think that the Giants should put up some pretty good numbers, as the Eagles let up a lot of points. Their defense is crazy. They score, but they also let other teams score. So I think that Larry Donnell's a good option. Possibly Odell Beckham or Victor Cruz at receiver for the Giants, but I think Larry Donnell is the more solid option for which player is going to put up big numbers in that game. Alright, so now let's look at kicker. And at kicker, a little bit of a surprise here. Going with Matt Prater. He just signed a deal with the Lions as they let Alex Henry go because he missed 3 field goals, and that cost them the game against Buffalo in Detroit. So now they've signed Prater. The Lions have a really good defense, and they have a good passing game, although they don't have much of a running attack. So that should give Prater plenty of chances to get field goals. This week we could see him kick 3, 4, maybe even 5 field goals against the Jets. Or actually, no, not against the Jets. I think that's if he was with Denver before the Lions in that game. The Lions are going to be going against Minnesota in Minnesota. Of course, the wind could be a factor, so we shall see. And then at defense, I like the San Diego Chargers. Last week, they got the shutout. Of course, this week, they're going to be going against Oakland. So they're facing a couple of bad teams. First they shut out the Jets, and now they're going to Oakland to face the Raiders. And the Raiders, they struggle to score. They struggle to put up any kind of yards. They do, have somewhat of a passing attack, but not really. As they're really low in statistics when it comes to scoring and putting up yards. So the San Diego Chargers should have a pretty good week against them. Of course, we'll see if they'll be able to get some turnovers. So that's fantasy fortunes for week 6.
Fantasy Fortune.